Gameranx presents another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight up gameplay and some first impressions of the latest games releasing. This time around, we're talking about Ratchet and Clank and its debut on PlayStation 4. Insomniac's Ratchet and Clank series has seen a lot of releases. The game has really grown from what it originally started at, but the Ratchet and Clank PS4 version aims to distill it back down to what it once was and kind of connect it to the new movie that's releasing based on the game. If that sounds a little iffy to you, let me reassure you, this is a damn solid, great Ratchet and Clank game. It's not going to be for everyone just because it is definitely for the early 2000s platformer shooter crowd. You know, if you like this and you like Jak and Daxter, this is something you should jump into. First of all, can I just talk about how good the game looks? I think this Ratchet and Clank is the perfect example of graphics and how it doesn't always have to be photorealism to just look visually amazing and powerful and impressive. There's a lot of things going on: particle effects, lighting, view distance, character models that are incredibly detailed, but it is very much not based in the real world, and it just provides some really amazing looks and sequences, and I can't get enough of it. You know, these games have always aimed for like a Pixar-style movie come to life, and I think they finally nailed it. Because everything presentation-wise with this game is great. The graphics, the music, but also the voice acting, the writing, the cutscenes, and the jokes. It actually does use cutscenes from the movie to kind of intersplice them, but it doesn't feel awkwardly pieced together.
No vector shell damage. Sister board appears to be intact.
I must get to Alero City.
And it's just pretty consistently entertaining throughout. You're gonna like these characters, you're gonna have fun, and you're gonna chuckle to yourself. Yeah, it might not be laugh out loud funny all the time, but it's amusing. Maybe it's just because I've become a bitter, old, humorless man. What you need to know as a player is that this is very much a platformy style game, but with a lot of shooting. If you are a fan of the series, you know that there's actually slightly less guns this time around, but there's a really good mix of the original guns with a few new ones. And if you know Ratchet and Clank, the series is known for just really creative, weird, over-the-top weapons. Here you have a disco ball grenade that makes enemies dance, a shotgun blast that turns enemies into pixels, a ridiculous over-the-top flamethrower, and a bunch of other things. This is all really great because there's an upgrade tree that you can spend bolts on to upgrade your weapon and turn it into something ridiculously different than what it started as. Not only that, but the guns actually level up from use like in some of the later games, so the more you use a gun, the better and quicker it levels up like in an RPG. So you and Ratchet, you run around, you shoot enemies, you break crates, you run and jump, you solve light environmental puzzles. But thankfully, the game really shakes things up every once in a while. There's a lot of variety here so that you don't get bored. Not only are you hopping around from planet to planet, unlocking new gadgets and going back and unlocking old stuff, there's free-moving, kind of open-worldy ship battle sequences where you blow shit up, and there's also free-roamy jetpack exploration modes like Into the Nexus, if you remember. And that is definitely a welcome thing. The whole gameplay here in this Ratchet and Clank game is that it's basically like a greatest hits version of all the previous games. Even the story is different. It's not a direct reboot, it's actually kind of like a meta continuation and retelling of the original story. If that sounds a little confusing, you'll see when you play the game. So while it does tread the familiar ground of the first game, you do get more characters, more weapons, and just the bigger view of the world that you get from the other games in the series. And it just makes for a great combination. All done through some wonderful voice acting by some cartoon veterans, familiar voices that you've heard before by very talented people. And not only that, we get more Captain Quark, which is like one of the funniest, stupidest video game characters in a while.
All right, everyone, let's give these heroes some breathing room. I'm happy to field all questions on their behalf.
Dallas Wanamaker here. Does this mean you'll be asking these two heroes to join the Rangers?
Say what now?
For some of you guys, this might all really fall on nostalgia factor, whether it just feels like you're watching an older Pixar movie or cartoon, or if you just haven't played the Ratchet series in a while and you're falling back to your memories of the original, this just works in all ways. Believe it or not, this whole gameplay loop of running around and shooting stuff and upgrading your weapons and getting new gadgets, it kind of provides like an addictive loop. You really just kind of get hooked and just want to explore, you know, one more planet. If you're into these types of games, you'll feel like a kid in a candy store. This game is so much fun with a bunch of really crazy action sequences. Most notably towards the beginning of the game, you're on a moving train and it is just incredible and it's so much fun. Like a lot of the other previous games though, playing as Clank in certain sequences leave a little bit to be desired. It's a bit boring, and for me it kind of drags on when it could have been way more exciting, but at least he's a really likable character. And that goes for all the characters. They're all memorable, and the adventure itself is pretty memorable, and it'll take you a while. It'll take you about 14 hours. Why it works, because not only is it like a platformer shooter that is just fun and cool and quirky with enough variety to shake things up every once in a while, but but you also just have that sense of progression with collecting bolts and upgrading your weapons and stuff. Oh my god, and now I gotta go back. I didn't even talk about the hoverboard races and the grinding boots, which just add a whole other level of fun to this game. I can go on and on, because you can probably tell I'm a Ratchet and Clank fan, but what I can tell you, as a non-fan and just as a video game person, is that this is a solid and fun shooter platformy game with a good sense of progression that'll get you hooked, and characters that are interesting, and a story that keeps things varied in gameplay that actually lasts you quite a while, especially for like the $40 the game is retailing for. You should definitely check out Ratchet and Clank, because it just might put the joy of video games back in you. But I do want to know what you guys think, because the game is out now, so let's talk about it down in the comments. How do you feel about this Ratchet and Clank? You're going to be one of a few different types of people. You've never played these games before, or you've played all of them, or you've only played the early ones and never really went back. Well, how do you feel about this one? We can talk about that all down in the comments below. You can also talk to me, or if you have any questions about the game, on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Jake Baldino. You guys know the deal, though. If you like this before you buy video and, you want to see more, click the like button, because that really helps us out, and we appreciate every single time you guys watch. If this is your first time here, though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.